When they couldn't break you, they panicked, because now they know the storm they started is coming back with interest. Chosen one, there's no hiding the tremble in their hands now. Behind closed doors, their so-called confidence is shattering. They pace the room, glance over their shoulders, whisper in hushed tones to anyone who will listen, because they feel it. The walls are closing in. The game they thought they could control has turned into a countdown they can't escape. They tried gossip, betrayal, manipulation, even dark tactics that they thought could weaken you, but every single move ricocheted. They forgot the first law of the universe. What you send out comes back multiplied. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one, a hunter in the forest, convinced they're the predator. They load their arrow, aiming for you, smirking at the thought of hitting the target. But the second they release it, the wind shifts, the arrow curves, and it's headed straight back toward them. They can't outrun it, they can't dodge it, and in that moment, they realize they were never the hunter. They were the prey all along. That's where your enemies stand right now, frozen between denial and the knowledge that they've set their own trap. And here's a fact that stings them even more. Psychologists call it emotional leakage. It's when someone tries to hide what they're really feeling, but their body betrays them. A twitch in the eye, a tremor in the voice, a sudden change in breathing. Even if they paste on a smile, their nervous system exposes the truth. And chosen one, every time they see you, their mask slips. The fear seeps out. They can't help it, because they're not just afraid of you, they're afraid of the consequences chasing them. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe to help spread this message to more souls, as it's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thank you, chosen one, for being part of this mission. You are part of a force no one can ignore. Now, let's get back to what's really happening. This isn't paranoia. They're reacting to the reality that their actions have triggered something they can't bargain with, can't manipulate, and can't silence. You didn't just survive their attacks, you rose from them, and that rise wasn't quiet, no matter how gracefully you carried it. It was loud in ways they can't explain. Your energy shifted, your presence grew heavier, and your wins became undeniable. To them, it's like watching someone they buried dig themselves out of the ground, dust off, and build a palace on the very plot they planned your grave on. That's why they can't hide it anymore. They once bragged about how they had you figured out, told people you were predictable, easy to play with. They crafted stories, rehearsed lies, sharpened their daggers in private. But the problem with lies is they have an expiration date. The truth is always patient, always watching, and when it arrives, it doesn't knock, it kicks the door down. And now that truth is standing in the middle of their world, pointing at every fake narrative they built. And chosen one, here's the part they never saw coming. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't have to gather proof or plead your case. You simply kept moving, kept elevating, kept aligning yourself with what was meant for you. That's what scared them most. You made their attacks irrelevant. You starved their gossip of oxygen. You left their games unanswered. And when a fire has no fuel, it dies. But when that fire was meant for someone protected, it doesn't just die. It turns around and burns the one who lit it. Think about it. If a person spends months digging a hole for someone else, they've got dirt all over their hands. Even if they try to walk away, the evidence clings to them. That's what's happening now. The people who once believed their lies are starting to notice the dirt. They're asking questions, they're connecting dots, and the enemy's calm facade is cracking under the weight of their own guilt. This isn't just about karma. it's about exposure. Exposure is more terrifying than punishment because it strips away the image they've worked so hard to maintain. Once people see their real nature, there's no going back. Relationships collapse, opportunities vanish, alliances dissolve, and the chosen one they tried to ruin becomes the living proof that their entire act was a fraud. You see, they underestimated the power of resilience. They thought breaking you would validate their actions, make their lies believable. But resilience isn't loud, it's steady, and it leaves a trail of undeniable evidence. Every time you smiled when they expected you to cry, every time you succeeded when they prayed for your failure, every time you kept your peace when they tried to provoke you, it was another nail in the coffin of their credibility. And now, chosen one, they are in the most dangerous place a hater can be: invisible panic. They're trying to hide it, but it's leaking into their every interaction. Their words are shorter, their tone is forced, their smiles are strained, they're snapping at people they once controlled. Why? Because the storm they started is now directly above their heads, and they know when it breaks, it won't be a drizzle, it will be a flood. That's why they're freaking out. That's why they can't hide it anymore. They're not afraid of you. They're afraid of the truth you embody. You are living, breathing evidence that their entire mission failed. And in failing, they've sealed their own fate. And listen closely, chosen one. What you just heard, that was only the spark. The firestorm is just beginning. So if you feel that quiet surge in your chest right now, that's not adrenaline, that's alignment. The universe brought you here because you're meant to hear every single truth that's coming next. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you know they're panicking behind closed doors and it's their own actions coming back for them. And if you feel called, bless the mission with a super thanks. Your energy fuels this truth and helps it reach those still fighting battles in silence. Now take a breath, chosen one, because what's coming next? It'll make sure they never try you again. And now, let's dive into it step by step. Believe me, if you're really one of the chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay locked in until the very end. Let's get started. Number 1, they tried to curse you. Now they're the ones living in a nightmare. They built a storm for you, and now it rains in their own bed every night. Chosen one, nothing rattles an enemy more than realizing they've become the prisoner of their own trap. They thought they could play with forces they didn't understand. They thought they could twist energy like a knife in your back, send whispers into the wind that would circle your name in darkness. But the truth about being chosen is this: when you're aligned with the universe, everything sent to destroy you becomes your shield. It flips, it doubles back, and it goes home to the sender, carrying interest like a debt collector with no mercy. They didn't just try to ruin your day, chosen one. They tried to ruin your destiny. They poured their time, their energy, even their resources into making sure you wouldn't rise. And in their arrogance, they forgot the oldest truth in the book. You can't aim destruction at someone whose roots are deeper than your reach. Now they lie awake, heart racing, staring into the dark, feeling the very presence they summoned to destroy you, breathing in the corners of their room. Now imagine this for a moment: a thief who robs a house at night, stuffing their bag with everything they can grab. They're so obsessed with taking what isn't theirs that they don't notice the house has a guard dog, silent, patient, waiting. The second the thief tries to leave, that dog follows them home. And now, no matter where they go, it's there, watching, circling, waiting for its moment. That's the energy they're dealing with now. What they unleashed wasn't yours to carry. It was theirs all along, and now it's latched to them like a shadow they can't outrun. And some of you might be wondering, why didn't it touch you? Why didn't their curses, their dark intentions, their energy work stick? Because being chosen means you move in a frequency they can't access. The law of vibration is real. High frequencies can't be contaminated by low ones without consent. They needed you to lower yourself to match their energy, but you didn't. That's why their attack never landed. It's like throwing mud at a star. It doesn't stick. It just burns away before it even reaches you. They laughed once. They celebrated behind closed doors, convinced their work was working. They looked for cracks in your life, misread your moments of rest as defeat, thought your silence was surrender. But silence is where the chosen are most dangerous. It's where you align, recover, and rise in ways they'll never comprehend. That's why when the energy bounced back, it didn't just tap them on the shoulder. It crashed through their front door. History has shown this pattern over and over again. Think about the times great figures were underestimated, plotted against, or publicly shamed, only for the plotters to crumble under the weight of their own schemes. Julius Caesar's assassins didn't get the Rome they wanted. Instead, they sparked chaos that swallowed them whole. Every empire built on betrayal has eventually been eaten alive by it. Why? Because betrayal carries its own curse, and once it's unleashed, it always comes home. They didn't just try to curse you, chosen one, they cursed their own name in the process. And the universe is meticulous in its accounting. It may not move on your timing, but it always moves on the right timing. When it strikes in ways that strip a person down to the truth. For them, it's showing up as restless nights, shadows in their peripheral vision, a sudden fear of being alone. It's showing up as conversations that turn on them, people they thought were allies now whispering behind their backs. They're discovering that the same isolation they wished for you feels like a tomb when it's theirs. And here's the kicker, they can't even admit what's happening. To do so would be to admit that what they did to you was real, so they suffer in silence, pretending they're fine while their eyes tell a different story. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The same way they wanted you to suffer invisibly, they now do in their own private hell. They can't post about it, they can't vent about it, because to do so would open doors they desperately want to keep closed. Some of them are trying to cleanse their hands now, pretending they never took part. But you can't wash off what's tattooed on your soul. You can't undo a signature once it's written in the energy of the universe. And they know it. That's why the fear is real. That's why they're shaking. Not because you're coming for them, but because they know there's nowhere left to run from what's already inside their house. If you've ever felt that sudden shift in your spirit, chosen one, that moment where you know the weight someone tried to dump on you just lifted, it's because the universe rerouted it. It's because your name was never on that package. It had their address the whole time. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still rising. That's why they're spiraling. And think about it. What kind of desperation drives a person to attempt to spiritually cripple someone else? That's not strength. That's the loudest scream of weakness there is. The fact that you're still standing is a wound they'll never heal from, because it confirms what they feared the most. You're not just protected, you're untouchable. You don't have to swing back. You don't have to wish them harm. You just keep walking, chosen one. Because every step you take is another reminder to them that they failed, that all the energy they spent trying to break you could have been used to build themselves, but they were too obsessed with stopping you to see it. Now they're left with nothing but the echo of their own choices, and those echoes are getting louder every night. The nightmare they live in now? They wrote it, they produced it, they directed it, and now they have to star in it over and over again. No escape, no fast forward, just the reality they created on repeat. And that's the thing about being chosen. Your enemies don't just lose the battle, they end up fighting themselves for the rest of their lives. Chosen one, you are proof that no curse can touch a soul that refuses to bow. You're the walking evidence that the universe guards what it has marked as sacred. And every time you shine, every time you succeed, every time you breathe in peace, they wanted to suffocate. You're sending a silent message that hits harder than any revenge ever could. You didn't win. You never will. Now they're the ones in the dark, hearing footsteps that aren't there, feeling eyes on them when they're alone, replaying every step they took against you in their mind. And the worst part? This isn't even the full return of what they sent. It's just the beginning. Number 2, they paid for your fall, but bought their own karma. You can't bribe the universe. It always knows who wrote the check. Chosen one, there's a different kind of shame that comes from watching your own investment turn against you, and that's exactly where your enemies are right now. They didn't just whisper against you or throw shade in the shadows. No, they took it further. They put actual time, energy, and resources into making sure you fell. They treated your destruction like a business deal, thinking if they paid the right price, the universe would just hand over your downfall like a package on delivery. But here's the twist. They didn't buy your end. They bought their own. Imagine someone walking into a store of cosmic law, pointing at you and saying, "I'll take their downfall." How much? The cashier doesn't argue. They ring it up, take their payment, and let them walk away, feeling powerful. But what they don't see is the fine print. All sales are final, and returns are automatic. Every cent, every ounce of effort they poured into breaking you was a down payment on their own collapse. The moment they made that purchase, they signed a contract they couldn't read, and now the universe is collecting with interest. Now picture this for a moment, a gambler walking into a casino, convinced they can't lose. They put everything they have on one bet, your failure. They're laughing, bragging to their friends, already spending the winnings in their mind. But when the cards are flipped, they don't just lose the bet. They lose the shirt on their back, the keys to their car, and the deed to their house. That's how it works when you try to manipulate destiny. Chosen one. The universe doesn't just take what you offered, it takes everything you can't afford to lose. And here's the fact they didn't consider. Energy works like a boomerang. You can disguise it, you can dress it up as opportunity, you can hide your hand behind someone else's move, but when it's thrown with ill intent, it always finds its way home. Science even echoes this principle. Newton's third law says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. They sent force toward you. Now the reaction is on its way back to them, unstoppable, undeniable, and perfectly measured to the energy they spent. They thought they were buying control. In their mind, the deal was simple. Pay someone, manipulate a situation, twist a few narratives, and you'd crumble. What they didn't understand is that the universe is incorruptible. It doesn't take bribes, it doesn't accept dirty money, and it will never side against someone walking in alignment. Your steps, chosen one, are protected, not because you never stumble, but because your path is tied to something greater than their greed. Think about history. Every time a corrupt leader or competitor tried to buy their way into a win, they ended up bankrupt in ways that went far beyond money. They lost credibility, they lost their alliances, they lost their peace. Look at figures like Bernie Madoff, living high off schemes until the bill came due. That's the same energy here. Your enemies aren't just losing financially, they're losing in ways they can't put a price tag on. Right now, some of them are feeling the pinch in their wallets. Unexpected bills, job losses, deals falling through, but others are paying in emotional currency, relationships collapsing, secrets spilling, reputations rotting from the inside out. And the irony? They can't even connect the dots, or maybe they can, and they're just too proud to admit it. They know what they did. They know where they sent their resources, and deep down, they know this is the cost. This is why being chosen is so dangerous for your enemies. The universe watches over you like a hawk. It keeps receipts. It doesn't just let things slide because someone thinks they've earned the right to take you down. They could have put that same money, that same effort, into building themselves, into creating a future worth living. But instead, they spent it trying to dismantle yours. And because the universe doesn't waste energy, it simply rerouted their investment into your growth and their collapse. You may have felt their efforts for a moment. Maybe you experienced delays, resistance, or obstacles that didn't make sense. But chosen one, those moments were never the result of their power. They were the universe shifting things in your favor, even if it looked like a setback. And once that shift was complete, the force they sent out had nowhere else to go but home. There's a poetic justice in watching someone fund their own downfall. Every time they threw more into the pot, more gossip, more manipulation, more spiritual interference, they were just digging their own hole deeper. And now, they're realizing there's no refund, no escape clause, no way to undo the deal they made. Some of them thought they were clever, using other people as middlemen. They paid someone else to deliver the blow so their hands would look clean. But the universe isn't fooled by proxies. The energy still carries their name, their signature, their intent. And just like a check, it's being cashed, with their own life as the account. And here's what will hurt them the most. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. The money they spent to hurt you didn't just fail, it funded your growth in ways they can't stand to watch. It's like paying to build a house, only to realize it's being built on your enemy's land. Every time you rise, every time you succeed, it's a reminder that their investment was the worst business decision they ever made. Some of them are already in the thick of the return. They're restless, irritable, distracted. Their plans are unraveling. Friends they counted on are distancing themselves, and they don't know whether to blame bad luck, bad timing, or you. But the truth is, it's none of those. It's the universe balancing the books. And the collection process is brutal when you've been running a debt that big. Chosen one, this is why you never have to lift a hand in retaliation. This is why you can keep your head high and your spirit steady, because the moment someone chooses to invest in your downfall, they've already bought their own karma. They've already purchased the chain that's now dragging them down. All you have to do is keep walking forward while they figure out how to carry what they bought. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about celebrating their pain. It's about understanding the law that protects you. It's about knowing that no matter how much someone spends, no matter how elaborate their plot, no one can buy a win against someone whose destiny is protected. The universe doesn't play favorites, it plays fair. And fairness means that what you give comes back to you, multiplied. So let them count their losses in the dark. Let them try to rewrite history. Let them pretend the collapse they're living through is just a coincidence. You'll know the truth. you'll know that the moment they tried to put a price on your failure, they bought a future they can't survive. They paid for your fall, chosen one. But the universe doesn't sell victories to the highest bidder. It delivers justice to the most aligned. And right now, justice is knocking on their door. And it's not leaving without collecting everything they owe. Number 3. They whispered behind closed doors. Now the whole room sees them. Lies are loud. Truth is louder when it walks in. Chosen one, your enemies thought they could keep their little operation in the shadows forever. They thought closed doors, whispered tones, and carefully chosen allies would protect them from exposure. But the thing about the truth is, it doesn't knock. It kicks the door open and walks in like it owns the place. And now, all the people they once fooled are looking at them differently. The masks are slipping, the stories aren't adding up, and the very audience they performed for is starting to connect the dots. For months, maybe even years, they treated your name like currency in their circle. They traded stories about you like cheap goods at a market, selling lies for attention, spinning tales that painted you as the villain. And here's the irony. Some of those listening didn't even know you personally. They had no frame of reference, no reason to doubt the storyteller. Until now. Because the truth has this uncanny way of revealing itself when you least expect it, and it always arrives right on time. Now imagine a theater production where every actor is playing their role perfectly until the lights suddenly go out and come back on. In that brief blackout, the audience catches a glimpse of the actors out of character, dropping their props, breaking their fake accents. That's what's happening to your enemies right now. The people they used to impress are seeing the unfiltered version, the jealousy in their eyes, the cracks in their confidence, the emptiness behind their performance. And chosen one, here's what makes this even sweeter. You didn't have to defend yourself. You didn't have to go around explaining, proving, or convincing. You simply stayed aligned, kept moving forward, and let the universe handle the cross-examination. The more you rise, the more your life speaks for itself. And that's when the people who once believed the lies start to ask, if everything they said about you was true, then why are you thriving? Why do you carry yourself with peace? Why is your presence magnetic instead of bitter? The universe is not only clearing your name, it's turning the spotlight on the ones who tried to destroy it. And under that light, they can't hide the truth anymore. Allies become distant. Co-conspirators start whispering to each other instead of with each other. And the same mouths that once spread lies are now scrambling for excuses. Chosen one, you don't need to clap back. You don't need to fight. Just keep walking in your truth. Because right now, they're not just losing control of the narrative, they're losing the crowd. And the universe is making sure every eye sees exactly who they really are. Number 4. They thought you were the fool. Now they look like clowns. When the smoke clears, the only fool left standing is the one who lit the fire. Chosen one, they were so sure of themselves when they came for you. They sat back, smug and satisfied, convinced that your missteps, your struggles, and your moments of pain were proof that you didn't know what you were doing. They laughed in private, threw shade in public, and strutted around like they were 10 steps ahead. In their eyes, you were the fool. But now the smoke has lifted. The battlefield is clear, and everyone can see exactly who was playing the clown all along. They mocked your path because they couldn't understand it. They wanted you to follow their blueprint, to take the roads they took, to live according to their limitations. And when you didn't, they mistook your originality for ignorance. But here's the thing, they didn't know your steps weren't random, they were aligned. The universe was guiding you through terrain they couldn't survive, building resilience they couldn't buy, and setting you up for a victory that would be impossible to fake. Now imagine a poker game where everyone thinks you're playing badly. They smirk, they exchange glances, they bet against you at every turn, until you lay your cards on the table and it's game over. That's where you are right now. Your hand was always strong, you just didn't need to show it until the right moment. And when you finally did, it made every insult, every laugh, every so-called lesson they tried to teach you look ridiculous. And here's the part that's eating them alive. Your glow isn't just visible, it's undeniable. You didn't crawl your way back, you ascended. You didn't just get by, you flourished. And every win you stack now throws their earlier mockery into sharper contrast. People remember what they said about you, and now they're questioning the credibility of someone whose own life is falling apart. The truth is, they were projecting their own foolishness onto you. They called you lost because they couldn't find themselves. They called you naive because they couldn't see beyond their own limits. But now, chosen one, the masks are off. The stage is lit, and they're standing in front of everyone, painted head to toe in their own clown colors. And you're walking away crowned, calm, and completely unbothered. Number 5. They wanted you isolated. Now they're the ones getting cut off. When you try to destroy connection, you destroy your own reflection. Chosen one, they really believed that if they could cut you off from everyone, you'd crumble. They thought that without allies, without friends, without support, you'd be easy prey. They spread rumors, dropped poison into conversations, planted seeds of doubt about your character, all with the hope that people would turn their backs on you. And maybe for a moment, it looked like they were winning. Maybe you did find yourself standing alone. But what they didn't understand is that isolation is where the chosen are reforged. They mistook your quiet seasons for weakness, not realizing the universe was pruning your connections to prepare you for better ones. They didn't know that in your solitude, you were building a foundation so solid that it didn't matter who walked away. You became self-sufficient. You learned to hear your own voice without the static of outsiders. You stopped needing validation from anyone, and that's when you became untouchable. Now, the roles have reversed. The same people who once entertained their lies are drifting away from them, not because of anything you said, but because their own energy has turned sour. Friend groups are dissolving around them. The allies they thought were loyal are suddenly unavailable, too busy, or simply uninterested in keeping them close. And here's the twist. Those losses hurt them more than they ever thought yours would hurt you, because they've built their identity on being connected, liked, and included. Imagine someone who spent months cutting wires in your network, thinking they were dismantling your power source, but in the process, they've been slicing through their own. Now they stand in a dark room, alone, with no way to plug back in. That's exactly where they are, cut off from the very connections they once used to validate themselves. The universe has a way of balancing the scales. Chosen one, it saw their attempts to isolate you and simply flipped the script. Now, they're the ones ghosted. They're the ones overlooked. They're the ones scrolling through their phone at night, realizing there's no one left to call. And as for you, you're not chasing anyone. You're building, glowing, and connecting with people who see you for who you truly are. Proof that no amount of sabotage can touch a destiny that's protected. Number 6. They thought spell work could stop you. Now the universe is showing them real power. You don't have to fight black magic when you walk with universal protection. Chosen One, they really thought they were stepping into territory they could control. Whether they lit candles, spoke incantations, sent dark intentions, or simply wished harm on your name, they were convinced that if they played with energy, they could bend your path. But here's what they didn't factor in. You are not just walking through life. You are carried by something far greater. The universe does not negotiate when it comes to protecting its own. It doesn't matter if you believe in spell work, curses, or energy manipulation. The principle remains the same. Whatever is sent out must return to its sender. That's not superstition. That's energetic law. They unleashed something they weren't equipped to handle, and because your frequency was too high, too aligned, their arrows never even made it past the outer walls of your protection. Instead, they've been spinning in the air, gathering speed, and now they're on their way back, heavier, sharper, and impossible to dodge. Imagine someone standing at the base of a mountain, throwing stones at its peak. They hurl them with all their strength, proud of their effort, certain they're making an impact. But the mountain is unmoved, unshaken, and when the stones finally roll back down, they don't come gently. They come faster, harder, unstoppable. That's what's happening to them now. Here's the irony. They thought they were playing with mystical power, but all they did was open a door to forces they can't control. And unlike the universe, those forces don't care about mercy. The energy they called on has no loyalty to them. It simply obeys the laws of return. Now they're living with the very chaos they tried to hand you. Sleepless nights, anxiety that comes out of nowhere, sudden misfortunes they can't explain. It's not coincidence. It's the bill being delivered. Chosen One, your job was never to fight them back. Your job was to keep your spirit clean, your mind sharp, your focus forward. That's why you didn't have to lift a finger. The universe handled the battlefield before you even knew it existed. And now they're learning the difference between playing with energy and standing in true power, because only one of those can stand the test of universal law, and it isn't them. Number 7. They got bold in the shadows. Now they're shaking in the light. Cowards always shout in secret, but truth drags them into daylight. Chosen One, your enemies thought they could operate forever under the cover of shadows. They made their moves quietly, speaking your name only in rooms you couldn't enter, sending their jabs when they thought your back was turned. They assumed your silence meant ignorance. They assumed that because you didn't clap back, you didn't know. But here's what they missed. You knew the whole time. You just understood that the universe has a way of doing in public what you never needed to handle in private. They were bold when they thought the stage was empty, when they believed the audience would never see behind the curtain. They moved like thieves in the night, smug in their secrecy. But the universe has no interest in letting that kind of energy go unexposed. It turned on the lights, pulled back the curtain, and revealed every grimy move they made. Now, they're standing in front of the same crowd they used to entertain, except the laughter has stopped, the whispers have changed, and the eyes on them aren't admiring. They're judging. Picture a burglar frozen in the middle of the act when the floodlights snap on. That's what's happening to them. The same hands that felt so steady in the dark are now trembling in plain sight. Their voice cracks when they try to explain themselves. Their eyes dart, searching for exits that don't exist. The truth they've been hiding from isn't just around them, it's in them. Every dirty thing they did to you has become a mirror they can't escape. And here's what makes it even more poetic. You didn't have to chase them into the light. They walked right into it themselves. The more they tried to maintain their lies, the heavier the truth became, until it spilled out in ways they couldn't control. People overheard conversations, messages got forwarded, allies turned witnesses. The same network they used to harm you became the very net that trapped them. Now they're shaking, not because you've confronted them, but because the universe has confronted them. And the thing about light is, it doesn't ask for permission to reveal what's real. Chosen one, you just keep standing in your truth. Because right now, they're learning the most painful lesson a coward can face. Once you're dragged into the light, you can never hide in the shadows again. Number 8. They confess to the wrong person. Now everyone knows. You can't plant poison and pray for silence forever. Chosen one, arrogance has a way of making people sloppy. They thought their schemes against you were airtight, that their words would stay locked inside the circle they trusted. They were so confident, so sure of their grip on those around them, that they let their mouth run loose. And in their pride, they confessed to the wrong person, the very person who would end up holding the match to burn their web of lies down. They thought this confidant was loyal. They thought the poison they poured into someone else's ear would be stored like treasure in a vault. But here's the flaw in their plan. Truth has a way of leaking through cracks. And the moment they chose to speak their darkness out loud, they gave it permission to travel. Now those words are spreading like wildfire, moving faster than they can contain. Picture someone pouring oil into the soil, thinking no one will notice. For a while, the ground absorbs it, hides it, but then the roots start to die, the flowers stop blooming, and everyone begins to notice the stench. That's exactly what's happening here. Their confession was the oil, and now the damage is visible to everyone around them. The people who once nodded along to their stories are starting to wrinkle their noses and step back. And here's the part that hits them hardest. They can't take it back. There's no unsaying what they've said, no way to erase the conversations that have already been repeated and rehashed. They know the walls are closing in. They know the narrative they worked so hard to build is crumbling because it came from their own lips, and the very person they trusted has become their biggest liability, whether by guilt, by strategy, or by simply getting tired of carrying their secrets. Chosen one, you didn't have to reveal a thing. You didn't have to expose them. They exposed themselves, and now they're scrambling, trying to plug holes in a ship that's already halfway underwater. But that's the beauty of universal justice. When someone's entire plan is rooted in lies, it doesn't take an enemy to destroy it. All it takes is their own voice in the wrong ear, and the truth will do the rest. Number 9. They said you'd never win. Now they can't handle your glow. They prophesied your downfall. Now your success is preaching its own sermon. Chosen one, they didn't just doubt you. They declared your defeat as if it were already written in stone. They made your struggle their entertainment, mocked your ambitions like they were a joke, and laughed at every obstacle you faced. In their minds, your story had only one ending: failure. But the universe had a different script, and now every win you stack is a living, breathing contradiction to everything they said about you. They thought they were the narrators of your life, chosen one. They wanted the world to see you as incapable, as someone with no future, as someone destined to fade quietly into nothing. They scoffed at your vision because they couldn't imagine it for themselves. And when you were fighting your private battles, they mistook your silence for surrender. But your journey wasn't a performance for their approval. It was an alignment with your purpose. And purpose doesn't need applause to succeed. Now your rise is undeniable. Your victories aren't hidden. They're in plain sight. Your progress isn't whispered. It's loud enough to echo in the very rooms where they once laughed at you. And here's the irony. The same mouths that said you'd never win are now forced to speak your name with a different tone, one laced with resentment, envy, and disbelief. Imagine someone betting their life savings on your failure, convinced it's the safest gamble in the world. They sit back, smug, waiting for the collapse. But instead of falling, you rise higher and faster than even you imagined. That's what's happening now. They invested in your loss, and instead they're watching your glow become brighter with every passing day. And it's not just the success that stings them, it's the fact that it's public. They can't hide from it. Your wins are visible to anyone who looks. Your growth is obvious to everyone who knows you. And the contrast between your elevation and their stagnation is humiliating. They can try to downplay it, but deep down, they know the truth. They were wrong about you. Chosen one, you don't need to throw their words back at them. You don't need to prove a point. Your life is already the proof. And right now, every move you make is a sermon they can't stop hearing. A sermon about resilience, faith in the unseen, and the kind of victory that can't be denied. Number 10. They're running, but the universe is already waiting where they're headed. You can run from people, but you can't outrun karma. Chosen one, they think distance is protection. They think a new zip code, a fresh start, or a new set of faces will erase the trail of destruction they've left behind. They pack their bags, close their blinds, and head out like fugitives in the night, convinced that if they can just get far enough, the past will lose its grip. But here's the truth. They're not running from you. They're running from the universe. And that's a chase they will never win. What they fail to understand is that their baggage isn't physical, it's spiritual. It's the lies they told, the harm they caused, the energy they sent out in malice. And spiritual baggage doesn't get left behind at a state line. It doesn't vanish when you change your number. It clings to you like a shadow, waiting patiently for the right moment to collect its debt. Imagine a criminal on the run, looking over their shoulder, thinking the coast is clear, only to find the law already waiting in the next town. That's how karma works. It's not chasing them in a panic. It's already ahead of them, sitting at the table in the very place they thought they'd be safe. And here's the irony, they're putting themselves through the stress of running when no one is even chasing them physically. They're exhausting themselves, trying to escape something you never had to lift a finger for. You're not behind them with pitchforks. You're ahead of them, building your life in peace. Meanwhile, the very energy they use to try to derail you is walking step for step with them, whispering reminders of what they've done. They'll try to reinvent themselves, hide behind new smiles, and craft a different story, but it won't stick. The universe has a way of making sure that the truth follows you, even into rooms where no one knows your name. Random conversations will expose them. Strange coincidences will connect the dots, and eventually the mask will slip, no matter how tightly they try to hold it. Chosen one, this is why you don't have to chase justice. It's already in motion. They're learning that you can cross oceans, change everything about your appearance, and still not escape the reflection in the mirror. Because the moment they decided to harm you, they set a spiritual trail that leads directly back to themselves. And the universe? It's already waiting at the finish line. Number 11. They can't touch you, but everything they sent is tearing them apart. They didn't destroy you, they signed their own ending. Chosen one, they really believed they were pulling off the perfect hit. They thought their lies, their schemes, their energy, their betrayal would slice through you and leave you broken. They expected to see you limping, doubting yourself, begging for mercy. But instead, you kept walking untouched. And that's when the fear started to sink in. Because when a weapon doesn't land where it's aimed, it doesn't just disappear. It turns. It circles. It comes back harder, faster, and hungrier than before. They didn't realize the universe has a flawless return policy. Every ounce of harm they packaged with your name on it had their return address stamped on it in invisible ink. And now that package has been delivered to their doorstep, to their mind, to their spirit. They're the ones losing sleep. They're the ones questioning every shadow, every sound, every sudden shift in their life. The same chaos they tried to hand you is living with them now, tearing at their peace day after day. Imagine a hunter who sets a trap in the woods, convinced they've placed it perfectly to catch their prey. But when they come back to check it, they find it snapped shut around their own leg. That's what's happening here. They thought they were being clever, but they forgot that universal law doesn't take sides. It only delivers balance. And balance means they now have to live with the very pain they once celebrated for you. And here's the part that burns the most. You didn't have to block every shot. You didn't have to see every move coming. Your protection isn't reactive, it's proactive. The universe doesn't wait for you to get hit before it shields you. It stops the blow before it ever reaches your skin. That's why you're still glowing, still building, still laughing. You're not carrying scars from their attacks. You're carrying trophies from their failure. Meanwhile, they're unraveling, not because you fought back, but because they can't fight the invisible hands pulling at the strings of their life. Their plans keep falling apart. Relationships collapse without warning. The peace they once took for granted has been replaced with a constant hum of anxiety. They're not living, they're just waiting for the next hit, knowing deep down that it's still coming. Chosen one, this is the final truth they can't swallow. They didn't just fail to destroy you. In trying, they activated the very force that will dismantle them piece by piece. You remain untouchable, and every attempt to harm you only strengthens your shield. For them, it's game over, and the ending they wrote for you is the one they'll have to live out themselves. And chosen one, as you can see, every move they made against you only built the case for your victory. The universe has flipped the script so completely that their own actions have become their downfall, while you rise untouched. Your glow, your peace, your progress, it's all proof that nothing sent against you can prosper. If this message resonates with your spirit, press like, subscribe, drop the number 77 in the comments, and share this with another soul who needs to hear it. Together, we spread the light, chosen one, because your story is far from over, and your victory is already written.